7 years after divorce, Mafia boss visited his ex on Christmas Eve, but what he saw changed everything. The lanterns along the cobblestone roads glowed warmly, casting long, flickering shadows that danced against the old brick walls. In this serene, almost magical scene, one figure moved with purpose. His long coat swayed with every step, and his polished boots clicked sharply against the stones. Darius Valen had returned. 7 years had passed since the divorce that had shattered both his and Alara Liza's lives. 7 years since the bitter words, the sharp glances, the love that had been torn apart by pride, fear, and circumstance. And now, on Christmas Eve, he had come back. He paused at the corner of Alara's street. The house she had built for herself stood quiet and warm, smoke curling gently from the chimney. It looked almost unchanged from the memories he carried, yet it was clear she had created a life of her own. He adjusted the scarf around his neck, his fingers brushing against something hidden beneath the folds of his coat, a small, glowing token, faintly pulsing with a strange light. Inside the house, Alara was putting the last decorations on the small Christmas tree. The room smelled of pine and cinnamon, the soft glow of candlelight reflecting in her eyes. She had grown into a woman of quiet strength, careful and thoughtful. The past 7 years had shaped her, had taught her to protect herself, yet there remained a softness beneath her resolve, a part of her that still ached for what had been lost. A knock on the door startled her. She frowned, curious and cautious. It was late, the streets outside empty. She didn't expect anyone, not anyone she knew at least. When she opened the door, the sight before her stole the warmth from her chest. Darius stood there, tall and commanding, his dark hair slightly disheveled, but his eyes, the piercing gray eyes she remembered, were sharper than ever. They held something more than anger or resentment. They held regret, longing, and something else she could not immediately name. "Alara," he said, his voice low and even, "I hope I'm not disturbing you." She felt her heart stumble. 7 years of silence, 7 years of memories, and here he was, standing on her doorstep as though no time had passed. She wanted to step back, to shut the door, to keep the walls she had built around herself intact, but something stopped her. Something in the way he looked at her made her feel as though the years had been only moments. "What are you doing here, Darius?" she asked, her voice steady though her hands trembled slightly. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the house, at the warm glow of the lights, and then back at her. "I had to see you," he said finally. "After all this time, I had to see you." Her chest tightened. She wanted to ask why now after so long, but she didn't, not yet. Instead, she studied him, noticing the changes in him, the strength that came not just from his physical presence, but from years of surviving battles she had never seen, from carrying burdens she couldn't imagine. He seemed larger somehow, more dangerous, yet beneath it all, vulnerable. Darius stepped closer, and Alara caught sight of the faint glow beneath his coat. It was the token she had once laughed at, a symbol of a curse they had joked about when they were younger, a superstition they had never believed in. Now it pulsed with a soft light, almost alive. "Is that—" she began, but he shook his head slightly. "It's nothing," he said quickly, hiding it behind his coat. But she noticed the tension in his fingers, the way his jaw tightened. Whatever it was, it mattered. For a moment, silence hung between them. The snow outside continued to fall, muffling the distant sounds of the city. Inside, the warmth of the house seemed suddenly fragile, as if it could shatter with a wrong word. Finally, Alara stepped aside. "Come in," she said. The word was simple, but it carried the weight of years of restraint, of courage, and of lingering care. Darius's lips curved slightly, a brief, almost imperceptible smile before he entered. The house felt familiar and strange at the same time. The small, carefully arranged furniture, the tree with its ornaments, the soft carpet beneath their feet, it all reminded him of the life they had once shared. Memories surged like tides, filling the room with echoes of laughter, arguments, whispered secrets, and tears. They sat across from each other, the fire between them crackling softly. Darius watched her, studying the lines of her face, the calm strength in her posture. "You've done well for yourself," he said, almost quietly. Elara shrugged. "I've managed," she replied. Her tone was neutral, but there was a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "And you? 7 years in the city haven't changed you entirely." He chuckled softly, but there was no warmth in it. "Some things never change," he admitted. "Some things can't be changed." Their conversation flowed cautiously, each word measured, each glance loaded with unspoken history. They spoke of trivial matters at first, the weather, the state of the city, old acquaintances, but beneath the surface a tension simmered. It was the tension of unhealed wounds, of love that had been buried but not forgotten. Then Darius leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. "Elara, there's something I need to tell you." She tensed. She had feared this moment for 7 years, yet part of her had also longed for it. "What is it?" He hesitated, then reached into his coat and produced the glowing token. It hovered in his palm, faint light casting eerie shadows across the room. This came back to me. I don't understand it fully, but I know it's tied to us." Elara's breath caught. Memories rushed back of laughter, of a superstition they had laughed at in the garden, of a time when they had believed the world was theirs. The token had been a joke once, a symbol of their youthful curiosity and playfulness. Now it felt heavy with meaning, filled with a presence neither of them could ignore. "Us," she whispered. He nodded, eyes locked on hers. I think the past isn't over, Elara. I think there are things we left unfinished, things we didn't understand." Her heart ached. 7 years of longing, of fear, of trying to forget, pressed against her chest. She wanted to deny it, to push him away, to pretend the past didn't matter. But the sight of him, the way he stood there, reminded her of all she had loved and all she had lost. Outside, the snow thickened, swirling against the windows. Inside, the fire crackled, casting flickering shadows over their faces. The house felt small and vast at the same time, a space suspended between past and present. For the first time in years, Darius allowed himself to be vulnerable. He spoke of mistakes, of fear, of choices that had driven them apart. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed the storm inside. Elara listened, her own walls trembling. She had lived with the pain of separation, but hearing him speak of it, seeing him stripped of the facade of power and control, stirred feelings she thought had long been buried. "You came back," she said finally, her voice soft. "Why now?" "Because I couldn't stay away," he replied simply. "Because I needed to see you. Because something tells me our story isn't finished." Elara looked at him, searching for answers, for the truth, for a sign that he had changed. She saw it, the weight of the years, the scars that life had left on him, the vulnerability that only someone who had truly loved could carry. And she felt a spark of something she had thought was gone: hope. A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, and the glowing token in his hand pulsed brighter for a moment. Both of them noticed it. Neither spoke. The room seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with anticipation, as if the world itself waited for what would come next. Finally, Darius rose and stepped closer. "Elara," he said, his voice low, almost reverent, "I don't expect anything. I only ask, will you let me stay tonight, just until the morning?" Her pulse quickened. 7 years of careful solitude, of protecting her heart, pressed against the sudden rush of emotion he stirred. She hesitated, looking into his eyes, seeing the man she had loved and the man she barely knew. And in that moment something shifted, a bridge between the past and the present, fragile but real. She nodded. "You can stay." The snow continued to fall outside, silent and gentle. Inside, the fire crackled, the glow of the tree casting soft light across their faces. And in that quiet room, two hearts that had wandered separately for 7 long years began, perhaps, to find their way back to each other. But the token pulsed again, brighter this time, and both of them sensed that the past was not entirely behind them. Something unseen, something powerful had awakened, and it would not rest until their story was told. Outside, the lanterns flickered and the city slept under a blanket of snow. Inside, Alara and Darius sat together, separated by a small distance, yet bound by memories, regrets, and the faint, undeniable pull of destiny. And as the clock struck midnight, a quiet thought settled between them. This Christmas Eve would change everything. The fire flickered softly, casting dancing shadows across the room. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the streets in a silent, glittering blanket. Inside, the warmth of the house contrasted sharply with the chill in Darius's heart. He watched Alara carefully, noting the way her eyes reflected the firelight, bright, yet cautious, alive with curiosity, yet guarded. For a long moment, neither spoke. The air was heavy, filled with the memories of years they had spent apart. 7 long years had stretched between them, filled with silence, with pain, with the slow shaping of lives that had forgotten the other. And yet, here they were in the same room, bound by invisible threads neither could name. Darius finally broke the silence. "You've done well for yourself," he said quietly. His voice was low, calm, but there was an edge of admiration hidden in it. Alara looked at him, raising an eyebrow. "Well enough to survive." "Not exactly to thrive," she replied, her tone teasing, but her eyes betrayed something softer, something that had not faded entirely. He smiled faintly, a gesture that seemed almost foreign to him after years of hardened control. "You've changed," he said, "more than I imagined." "And you?" she asked, leaning back slightly in her chair. "Do you think you've changed?" Darius studied her face carefully, reading the faint lines that time had traced there. "I have," he admitted, "but some parts never change." Their conversation lingered on memories, small things at first. Old shops in the city, the taste of a winter pastry they used to share, the sound of bells ringing on Christmas Eve. Yet beneath the simple words, there was a current of tension, of longing, of the weight of unspoken truths. Every glance, every pause, carried the past into the present, reminding them both of what they had lost and what they still felt. Then Darius leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Alara, there's something you should know, something I didn't understand then and perhaps I still don't fully understand now." Alara's heart quickened. She had feared this moment for years, yet part of her had hoped for it too. "What is it?" she asked, her voice calm but her pulse betraying her curiosity. He reached into his coat and produced the small glowing token again. The light it emitted was faint, but it seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. "This, it came back to me. I don't know why, but it's tied to us, to our past, to something we ignored, something we never understood." Alara stared at the token, memories rushing through her mind like a sudden tide. She remembered their laughter, their whispered jokes about old superstitions, the stories they had spun about magic and fate. The token had been nothing then, a joke, a playful symbol of imagination. But now it felt heavy with meaning, alive in a way that frightened her. "What does it mean?" she whispered. Darius shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but I feel it. It reacts to us, to our emotions, to the things we carry inside. I've felt it stir since I came back. Something is waking, Alara, something that has waited for us." Alara's chest tightened. She wanted to ask more, to demand explanations, but words failed her. There was a strange power in the room, a silent presence that made even the fire seem alive. She felt it tug at her heart, at the memories she had tried to lock away. "Us," she whispered, repeating the word. "Yes," Darius said, "us. The past we thought was gone, it is, not completely. And this token, whatever it is, it won't let it be, not until we face it." Alara swallowed hard, unsure whether to feel fear or hope. 7 years of solitude had taught her to be careful, to guard her heart. Yet something in Darius's eyes, something in the way he spoke, reminded her of the man she had loved, the man she had once trusted completely, and who had trusted her in return. They sat in silence again, the token glowing softly between them. Neither moved, neither spoke, yet the tension was almost unbearable. The fire crackled and the shadows danced across the walls, twisting and bending as though alive, echoing the emotions in the room. Finally, Darius spoke again. I stayed away all these years because I thought it was safer for you, for both of us, but it seems that wasn't enough. Something wants us together, whether we're ready or not. Alara's gaze fell to her hands. She remembered the nights she had spent alone, thinking of him, wondering if he thought of her, feeling the emptiness he had left behind. And now, here he was, with the weight of the past pressing down, and the faint glow of something magical in his hand. I don't know if I can trust this, she admitted softly. I don't know if I can trust us. Darius's eyes softened. I don't expect you to, not yet, but I need you to know I never stopped caring, even when we were apart, even when I was, I don't know, lost in my own mistakes. Her heart stirred at his words. There was honesty there, raw and unguarded, something she had not seen in years. And yet fear lingered. Fear of the past repeating itself, fear of being hurt again, fear of what this strange, pulsing token might bring into their lives. Outside, the wind howled softly, rattling the windows. Inside, the quiet of the house was heavy with unspoken emotions, memories, and the strange magic that seemed to bind them. Darius rose and walked to the window, looking out at the snow-covered streets. I've changed, he said after a moment, his voice thoughtful. I've learned things I didn't understand before, and I've realized some things are worth risking everything for. Alara watched him, her pulse quickening. She wanted to believe him, wanted to feel the pull of the love that had never truly left her heart, but the years had taught her caution. And if this token, if it brings danger, if it asks too much of us, he turned to her, his gaze unwavering, then we face it together. Whatever it is, whatever it asks, because I cannot walk away this time, not from you, not from us. The fire flickered again, casting long shadows across the room. For a brief moment, the world seemed to hold its breath, suspended between past and present, between memory and destiny. Then, without warning, the token pulsed brighter, sending a soft glow across the walls. Both of them felt it, a strange warmth, a pull deep in their hearts. It was as if the object was alive, reacting to the emotions in the room, responding to the unspoken connection between them. Alara reached out instinctively, her fingers brushing against his as she moved closer to the token. The warmth from the glow spread through her, filling her chest with a mixture of fear and longing. She looked into Darius's eyes and saw the same mixture reflected there. "Do you feel it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," he said. "I feel it. It's calling us. And I don't think we can ignore it." A sudden knock on the door startled them. Both turned sharply, their hearts racing. Who could be visiting at this hour in the middle of a snowstorm on Christmas Eve? Darius stepped closer to the door, his hand on the handle, and looked back at Alara. "Stay here," he said softly, but she didn't move. She felt a strange courage, a bond with him that had begun to form again. He opened the door cautiously, and a shadowy figure stepped into the doorway. The room seemed to darken slightly, as though the presence of this person pulled at the very air around them. "You," Alara whispered, recognizing the figure instantly. The stranger smiled faintly, a knowing, dangerous smile. "It's been a long time," the figure said, voice low and smooth. "Too long." Darius's eyes narrowed. "What do you want?" he demanded. The figure's gaze shifted to the glowing token in his hand. "That," they said, pointing at it, "belongs to forces far older than either of you, and it is awakening faster than you think." Alara felt a shiver run down her spine. The warmth of the room, the security she had felt, all seemed to vanish. The past, the present, and the future pressed in on her all at once, and she realized that whatever this token was, whatever it had meant as a joke years ago, it was now a force neither of them could ignore. Darius took a protective step in front of her. "If you've come for this, you'll have to go through me," he said, his voice steady, commanding. The stranger smiled again, almost pityingly. "It's not so simple," they said. It never is. Alara's heart pounded in her chest. The fire flickered, the token pulsed, and she felt the pull of something ancient and powerful stirring within it. She looked at Darius, seeing not just the man she had loved, but the man who would stand with her against whatever was coming. And in that moment she knew nothing would ever be simple again. The snow outside fell harder, muffling the world. Inside, the room was alive with tension, magic, and emotion. Two hearts, separated for 7 long years, were drawn together once more, facing a mystery and a danger they could not yet comprehend. And as the stranger stepped closer, the token's glow flared brighter, sending waves of warmth and power through the room. Both Darius and Alara understood without words that this Christmas Eve was only the beginning, and that their story, intertwined with forces far greater than themselves, was about to unfold in ways they could never have imagined. The wind outside howled through the streets, carrying the sharp scent of snow and frost. Inside the house, the room felt alive with tension, the glow of the fire casting long, wavering shadows across the walls. Darius Valen stood near the window, his hand gripping the glowing token tightly, while Alara Lies sat close to the fire, watching him carefully. Both were aware that the stranger who had appeared minutes ago had vanished as suddenly as they had come, leaving a sense of unease hanging in the air. Alara broke the silence first. "Darius, what exactly is this?" she asked softly, her eyes flicking to the pulsing light of the token. "It feels alive, and I can't help feeling that it's watching us." Darius's jaw tightened. "I don't fully understand it myself," he admitted. "But I've felt its power for years, even before I left. I think it's tied to us, our past, our connection, everything we left unfinished." Alara swallowed. "You mean the past isn't over, that we're bound to it?" He nodded slowly. "Yes. And I think the stranger, whoever they were trying to warn us. This token, it isn't just a symbol. It's something older, stronger than us, and it's reacting to our presence and our emotions." Her heart tightened. She had spent years trying to live a normal life, free from the shadow of Darius and the pain of their past. And now, it seemed, that past had returned in a form she could neither ignore nor control. Darius moved closer to her, the faint glow from the token reflecting in his eyes. "Alara, I know I hurt you. I know I left when you needed me most, and I can't take that back. But whatever this is, whatever is happening now, I want us to face it together." Alara looked up at him, her eyes searching his. There was honesty in his gaze, something she hadn't seen in years, and yet fear lingered. "What if we fail?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What if this thing is stronger than us?" Darius took her hand, his grip firm and grounding. "Then we face it anyway, together. I won't leave this time, not from you, not from us." For a moment, silence fell over the room. The fire crackled, the token pulsed, and the air seemed to hum with an unseen energy. Then, without warning, the token flared brightly, casting the room in a soft, otherworldly light. Both of them felt a sudden warmth spreading through their bodies, followed by a strange pull, as if the token were urging them forward. "What is it doing?" Alara whispered, her hand instinctively clutching Darius's. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I think it's calling us somewhere." Before she could respond, the walls of the house seemed to shift subtly, shadows stretching longer, bending toward them as if alive. The warmth of the fire suddenly felt distant, the room growing colder despite the flames. Alara shivered, the sense of something ancient and powerful pressing against her chest. Darius's eyes narrowed. "We need to go," he said, his voice low and urgent. "Now, whatever this is, it wants us to act, and I have a feeling waiting is no longer an option." Alara rose to her feet, her hand still gripping his. Where do we go?" she asked, her voice small but steady. He gestured toward the door. "Outside, there's a place, a ruin on the edge of the city. It's old, abandoned, but I believe it holds answers. Answers about this token, about us, and about whatever force is awakening." Together, they stepped into the night. The snow was heavier now, blanketing the streets in thick white. The city seemed silent, as though holding its breath for what was to come. Their footsteps crunched softly against the snow, the glow of the token lighting the path ahead. As they walked, Darius explained what he knew. The token, it was given to me once, long ago. Not by anyone I understood, not by anyone I trusted fully. It was meant to test something, our bond, our hearts, the strength of what we share. I thought it was just superstition, a story to laugh about, but now it's real, and it's stronger than I imagined. Alara listened, her mind racing. Stronger than what us? Life, the world. Stronger than anything we can control, he said grimly. Which is why we must face it together. Alone we would fail, but together we have a chance. The ruins appeared at last, a group of crumbling stone structures, their outlines barely visible through the thick snow. The air here was colder, heavier, as though the wind itself carried whispers of the past. Shadows clung to the walls, moving unnaturally, bending toward them as they approached. Alara felt a tremor of fear, but Darius's presence was grounding. He stepped beside her, the glow of the token illuminating their path. "Stay close," he whispered. Inside the largest ruin, the air seemed to thrum with energy. The token pulsed brighter than ever, sending waves of light across the crumbling stones. Both of them felt it, a force older than memory, alive with intent. "Do you feel that?" Alara asked, her voice trembling. "Yes," Darius replied, his hand gripping hers tightly. "It's aware of us, watching, waiting." Suddenly, the shadows in the ruin shifted, twisting into shapes that seemed almost human. They moved toward them slowly, deliberately, as though testing their courage. Alara's breath caught, but Darius stepped in front of her, his stance protective. "Whatever this is," he said, "it won't touch you as long as I'm here." The shadows stopped, lingering a moment, then retreated into the corners of the ruins. The light from the token pulsed rhythmically, as if in response to Darius's words, sending warmth through the cold, dark space. Alara's heart raced. What are these shadows?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," Darius admitted. "But they are tied to the token, and to us. I think they're warnings, tests. They are showing us that this force, whatever it is, isn't passive. It's alive. It wants us to understand something." As they moved deeper into the ruin, the walls became taller, the air thicker. The whispers of the wind sounded almost like voices, faint but clear enough to catch the edge of the ear. They spoke of promises broken, of love lost and found, of choices made and consequences faced. Alara shivered, the weight of years pressing down on her. "Darius, what if we fail? What if we can't do this?" He stopped and looked at her, his gaze steady, unwavering. "Then we try anyway. That is all anyone can do. We face what comes together." At the center of the ruin, they found a stone pedestal. The token's glow brightened as they approached, illuminating strange carvings on the stone, symbols that seemed to shift and change as they looked at them. Alara reached out, her fingers brushing against the cold surface. A shiver ran through her body, and suddenly, a memory not her own flickered before her eyes. She saw a younger Darius, standing in a room filled with light, smiling at her with unguarded joy. She saw herself laughing, carefree, holding his hand. And then the scene shifted. Shadows fell, voices whispered, and the light dimmed. She felt a pang of grief, of loss, of the years that had separated them. Darius watched her closely. "It shows you memories are memories, and perhaps the memories we fear." Alara's breath caught. Why now?" "Because we are ready," he said softly. "We have both changed. We have grown. And this force, it tests not just our love, but our courage, our trust, our willingness to face the past." A sudden gust of wind blew through the ruins, scattering snow across the stone floor. The token flared, sending a wave of light that made the shadows dance wildly. Both Darius and Alara felt the pull, the force of the unknown pressing against their hearts, urging them to confront what lay ahead. "Alara," Darius whispered, his hand brushing hers again. Whatever happens next, do not let go, not of me, not of what we share. We may be tested, but we are stronger together than apart. Alara nodded, her fear tempered by the trust she felt in him. She knew the path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges neither could predict. But she also knew that the bond between them, the love, the longing, the unspoken connection, was stronger than the shadows that sought to pull them apart. Suddenly, the pedestal began to glow as the token floated above it, casting brilliant light across the ruins. The shadows recoiled, hissing like distant storms. The air vibrated with energy and the whispers grew louder, as if the ruins themselves were speaking, urging them forward. Darius took a deep breath. "This is it," he said. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Alara reached for his hand, holding it tightly. "Together," she whispered. And in that moment, as the token pulsed between them and the shadows writhed around the edges of the ruins, both of them understood the truth. They were not just facing a mystery, a curse, or the echoes of the past. They were facing themselves, their fears, their regrets, and the power of a bond that neither time nor distance could break. Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing the city in silence. Inside the ruins, two hearts stood together, ready to confront the edge of darkness, knowing that what came next would change everything. And as the token's light flared one final time for that moment, a distant rumble echoed through the ruins, a warning that the forces they were about to face were far from finished, and that their journey was only beginning. The ruins lay silent beneath the thick blanket of snow. The wind howled outside, carrying the scent of frost and the distant hum of the city. Inside, Darius Valen and Alara Lise stood together at the center of the ancient stone pedestal, their hands tightly clasped. The glowing token hovered between them, pulsing with an intensity that made the shadows tremble. Neither spoke at first. Words felt unnecessary in the presence of something so vast, so alive. The energy around them thrummed with purpose, as though the world itself was holding its breath. Alara's heart pounded in her chest, a mixture of fear and anticipation. 7 years of separation, of longing, of silence, had led to this moment. And now the moment demanded courage unlike anything they had faced before. Darius tightened his grip on her hand. "Whatever happens," he said, his voice steady, "we face it together. No matter what comes, no one will stand between us." Alara nodded. "Together," she whispered. The token flared, brighter than it ever had before, casting the ruins in radiant light. The shadows around the edges writhed and twisted, taking shapes that were almost human, phantoms of regret, fear, and pain. Alara felt them brush against her mind, stirring memories she had long buried, arguments, heartbreak, tears shed in silence, and the ache of love lost. "I can feel them," she said, her voice trembling. "Their memories, our memories." Darius's jaw tightened. "Not just ours. They are the shadows of everything we've left unresolved, every choice, every regret, and now they're testing us. They want to see if we can face it together." Alara took a deep breath. "Then we face it." The first shadow moved forward, a dark figure shaped like a younger Darius. It mimicked his every movement, a perfect echo of the man he had once been. Darius stepped forward to confront it, his expression resolute. "You are not me anymore," he said to the shadow, his voice ringing clear in the cold air. "I have changed, I have learned, and I will not let you control my life or hers any longer." The shadow wavered, as if resisting his words, but Darius's certainty shone through. He reached out, the token glowing brightly in his other hand. The shadow recoiled, and for a moment Alara felt a surge of hope. Then another shadow appeared, one shaped like Alara herself. It mirrored every fear she had carried, the doubt, the loneliness, the nights spent wondering if she had been abandoned forever. Her chest tightened, but she did not falter. She met the shadow's gaze, her hand still held by Darius. "You do not define me," she said firmly. "I am stronger than my fear. I am not alone." The token pulsed as if responding to her courage. The shadows shivered, twisting in agony, then dissipated slowly, leaving behind the cold stones of the ruin. Darius exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. "We're stronger than they thought," he said quietly. "Together, nothing can break us." But the token's glow continued to grow, brighter and more powerful. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through the ruins, through their very bones. Alara felt it in her chest, a warmth that spread from her heart outward, mingling with fear and anticipation. "The token," she whispered, "it's not finished." Darius's eyes narrowed. "Then neither are we." A sudden force pushed against them, making them stagger. From the shadows of the ruins, a figure emerged, larger than any human, made entirely of shifting darkness, with eyes that glowed like distant stars. The whispers of the past swirled around it, forming voices they had both known and feared. "This is it," Darius said, his voice steady, though his pulse raced. "The final test." The figure moved toward them, its steps silent but heavy with purpose. It did not speak, but the whispers were enough to chill their hearts. Each word was a memory, a regret, a fear. They felt it trying to pull them apart, to drown them in doubt. Alara tightened her grip on Darius's hand. "We're ready," she said, her voice firm. "Whatever this is, we face it together." The figure paused, as if considering her words. The shadows writhed, the token's light flaring in response. Then slowly it attacked, not with violence but with visions. Both of them were forced to see the worst moments of their past: arguments, betrayals, the loneliness of separation, and the fear of never being whole again. Alara fell to her knees, the weight of her memories pressing down. She saw herself crying after Darius had left, felt the cold emptiness of nights without him. Darius knelt beside her, pulling her close. "Alara, look at me," he said. "I'm here now. I'm not leaving. We are stronger than the past." She looked into his eyes, seeing the same pain, the same love, the same unspoken promise. Her fear began to fade, replaced by the warmth of trust, of courage, of the bond they shared. She rose, hand still in his, and together they faced the shadows again. "We are not afraid," Darius said, voice clear and commanding. "We are not defined by the past. We are stronger together." The figure of darkness wavered, the whispers of the past losing their power. The token's light blazed, brighter than before, bathing the ruins in golden radiance. The shadows screamed, twisting and writhing, then dissolved into nothingness. Alara felt a surge of relief, of triumph, of release. The memories that had haunted her for years were still there, but they no longer controlled her. She was free. And so was Darius. The dark figure vanished entirely, leaving only the ruins and the glowing token, now floating gently between them. The warmth of its light spread through the cold air, settling in their hearts like a promise. Darius exhaled, lowering the token. "It's over," he said softly. "The test is complete." Alara smiled, a mixture of exhaustion and joy. "We did it," she said, "together." He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Yes, together. And now, we can finally choose our path without fear." The snow outside had stopped falling, and the moon broke through the clouds, casting silver light over the ruins. The city beyond was quiet, peaceful, as if acknowledging their victory. Alara and Darius stood close, the warmth between them stronger than ever. The glow of the token faded, leaving only the memory of its light, and the knowledge that their bond was real, unbreakable, and redeemed. They spoke little, for words were unnecessary. Their hands were intertwined, their hearts beating in harmony. Every doubt, every regret, every fear had been faced, and in that confrontation they had found strength, not just in themselves, but in each other. This changes everything," Alara whispered, her voice soft but certain. "Yes," Darius replied. "It changes us, it frees us. And it gives us a chance, a real chance." For a long moment they stood in silence, watching the moonlight play across the ruins. The snow reflected its silver glow, and the night felt magical, serene, as if the world itself had paused to witness the transformation of two hearts. Alara leaned against Darius, feeling the warmth of his body, the strength of his presence. I thought I had lost you forever, she said quietly. You never lost me, he said softly. Even when I left, even when we were apart, my heart never left yours. And it never will. Tears welled in her eyes, not from sorrow, but from relief and joy. 7 years of separation, 7 years of longing had brought them here, to a moment of understanding, forgiveness, and love renewed. Outside, the ruins were silent, bathed in the soft glow of moonlight. Inside, two hearts that had wandered separately for years had found their way back to each other. And though the world beyond the city was uncertain, though challenges would come again, they knew one truth above all: together they could face anything. Darius pressed his forehead to hers, their breath mingling in the cold night air. We are free now, he said. Free from the past, free from fear, and free to build our future. Alara smiled, closing her eyes. Together, she whispered. And in that moment the ruins, the snow, and the city beyond seemed to echo their promise. Whatever the future held, they would face it side by side, stronger for the trials they had endured, and bound by a love that had been tested and had endured. The token's glow faded completely, leaving only the warmth in their hearts, a warmth that would never fade. Outside, a soft breeze stirred the snow, carrying with it the promise of a new beginning. And as Darius and Alara stepped out of the ruins, hand in hand, the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, painting the city in gold and silver, a symbol of hope, redemption, and the enduring power of love. For 7 years they had been apart. And now finally they were together, whole, healed, and ready to face whatever came next.